Welcome back to Green is Good, and we're so excited to have with us today Johann Berlin. He's the CEO of TEDx. Welcome to Green is Good, Johann.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you. And so, Johann, before we get talking about TEDx, and for our listeners out there that want to find you at TEDx, they could go to www.telexprogram.com. Talk a little bit about Johann Berlin and your journey in sustainability and how you even get to this point.
Yeah, great. I'd be happy to. So I think it was maybe 10 years ago. Got very involved, decided I started my first startup when I was 21, and decided at a young age, at 23, that I wanted to commit my energy and my life really to programs that were socially and environmentally conscious and sort of moving the world forward in the right way versus just chasing profit. And got involved in a lot of different things, had an incredible privilege to have so many wonderful mentors in those early days. Being on mayor, I was the youngest member of a mayor-appointed commission in Fairfield, Iowa, where we came up with a community sustainability plan, looking at all areas of the community, and got exposed to so many different things. But I also, over the years, got incredibly frustrated with the pace of change and how long it takes, especially stakeholder-engaged change, where there's lots of different pieces and perspectives that you have to sort of meet people where they are and kind of reframe things again and again, versus just talking in circles where people are already totally on board. And what I came to is that really change starts with the individual and in mindsets. And so for the last 5 years, I've been solely committed to working with institutions on creating mind shift change and broadening perspectives. And there's an analogy or a question that I always pose, which is what's more important, in this case, let's say a tree, or the mind that perceives the tree. Right. I would argue that the tree is incredibly important, but it's only important if the mind that perceives it values it, sees its inherent value in nature. So really, that's where the sort of evolution I took was more from a business point of view, looking at how can we grow green enterprise, and had some success doing that, but then really realized this is very much a people challenge and a mindset and consciousness challenge.
And so you founded TEDx. What is TEDx, so our listeners can learn what TEDx is?
Yeah, so I didn't actually found TLEX. It was part of a larger NGO with the International Association for Human Values, who do leadership, environmental work. We're partners with the UN ECOSOC, really using the model of leadership development, helping people uplift themselves, connect with others, and move into purpose and service to do work in good work in the world. And so TLEX is actually the revenue generating arm of International Association for Human Values, and we are working within leading and large institutions, creating sort of mind shift changes, increasing social connection, and really driving people toward greater purpose.
Wow. So here, TLEX, I'm on your website now for our listeners again, www.telexprogram.com. It's Transformational Leadership for Excellence. That's wonderful. And you're the CEO. So how do people engage that really want to be mission-based now? How do they engage with your great organization?
Well, so we work primarily with institutions.
Okay.
So what I would recommend, so for example, various companies, government leaders, and things of that sort. And if people are looking for ways to bring in programming, to both open mindsets around these kind of topics or other topics or challenges that they're taking on, increase the resilience and social connection within those organizations, and then springboard them into action. We do a lot of different trainings and facilitation work with globally all around the world.
Wow!
And so they can, yeah.
No, so you do this work. How and how do you approach sustainability and making organizations move towards making sustainable changes and making that part of their DNA?
Yeah. So one of the things that I learned early on in the sustainability movement is that it's so multivariable, and that it's always changing, right? So,
Right.
In many cases, your solution becomes your next problem, and or the ecosystem is changing, whether it be the environment or the people living on the environment. And so what ultimately what we really focus on is cultivating awareness and consciousness, giving people tools through breath, through meditation, so that they can increase their awareness. And whenever we can increase our awareness and sensitivity, ultimately that allows us to tune in more, both with ourselves, but also with others and nature. And then what that allows for is for us to adjust as things adjust. It allows us to be present real time, because that's really where the challenges are. And it's also where the solutions are. A lot of times, something works and then we're trying to recreate that box again and again, but maybe it's outdated. Maybe it only works in certain contexts. So how do we be present and sort of tuned into the needs of the environment and the needs of various sustainability movements, whether it's on the human side or on the environmental side?
And so you're consulting to large organizations, Fortune 100 companies, Fortune 500, and also
Yes.
Nonprofits and governmental entities as well.
Exactly. So we're doing a lot of work with global leaders around the world. We're trying to integrate in ethics work into what we're doing. But one of the things that we've realized is that leaders who want to create change, often they're taking on tremendous challenges, which requires a lot of capacity. And people who care tend to keep taking on more and more. So at the sort of heart of what we're doing with them is saying, how can we foster your own resilience so that you can absorb those over the long haul? And then also, how can we engage others and then move more in a more connected, authentic space?
Is this becoming more the norm now? I mean, years ago, this used to be called crunchy. This used to be, California stuff. But are more companies now really getting excited about mindfulness and a 360-degree approach to a person and better leadership, which means a better work environment?
Absolutely. And leading companies and leading brands. I mean, I think actually, if you look at leadership development of any kind, and particularly in something as holistic as a goal as sustainability, if you don't have this approach as part of it, it's considered very dated. And so, for example, we've offered 4 credit courses at MIT Sloan and did a number of programs at Harvard Business School and Yale School of Management. So absolutely. I mean, this is in the next generation of leadership, and it's similar in the same way to sustainability. If you're not present, you can't be present to the dynamic, the interconnected world that we're living in. So It's really at the heart of that.
You get to see and meet a lot of people, and you have tremendous visibility into the state of affairs of where things are going with regards to the social structure of our companies and our NGOs and governmental entities. What concerns you the most about today, the state of the world, Johann, and what are you most hopeful about in terms of, what you're doing and the adoption of your great work?
So that's a great question. I think just the sheer weight on people is what's most concerning. And I think it's a lot of times we think of companies as sort of the bad guys. But it's everyday people. It's people with kids. It's people with jobs. And that goes all the way from the very top of those entities down to the bottom, and tremendous stakeholder pressure on them. So I think I feel that almost a lot of the bad we see in the world, or the negative choices, is actually just a side effect of that pressure and just sort of the weight. And I also think there's a lot of people have kind of burnt out and maybe lose hope. What I find most promising is that I find people to be inherently sincere about wanting the world to be a better place. And whenever they have tools to sort of, cope with the demands on them, but ideally through building more individual resilience, through building more heart connection and authentic kind of community, the resonance with moving toward more purpose-driven initiatives it's resounding, and it's really what people are looking for. And more, to your earlier question, more and more people are looking for it. So that's incredible. That sort of tick upward and trend toward more individual consciousness and collective purpose-driven work is very encouraging.
So if one of our listeners is at a big company or at an NGO or at a governmental entity and they want some training there in mental clarity, social connection, and inspiration, they're coming to you, TLEX.
Yes, TLEXprogram.com.
Yeah, TLEXprogram.com. So, how many years have you been running this, Johann?
4 years. I've been running the North America division.
So talk a little bit about your success. What milestones are you the most proud of during those 4 years, and what are you the most grateful for in the work that you're doing, which is so important?
Yeah, so what I'm most grateful for, I'll work in reverse, is the people. I love working with people, and I sincerely appreciate how much they're willing to do to improve their lives, improve the outcomes of their companies, but also improve the outcomes of the world in many cases. So people are definitely what give me my energy every day. And to the first part of the question, do you mind repeating it?
Oh, the first part was just what I asked you. What the second part was what you're most grateful for, but the first part was your milestones. Like what interesting milestones are you the most proud of when you go to bed at night and you think about the last 4 years?
Yeah, so I think it's making these sort of topics very relatable to people and teaching them through experience versus just telling them. It's one thing for me to say, when you have more personal resilience, you're able to take on bigger challenges. Yeah. It's another thing when people leave feeling that. And so I think just meeting people where they are, making incredibly complex topics very relatable, and integrating it in massive institutions around the world has been quite a challenge. But it's also such an opportunity to really think about how we discuss these types of topics and how can we leave our own perspective and figure out how to bridge those communication and interpersonal gaps that often get in the way of letting good work happen.
We're down to the last 2 minutes, Johann, unfortunately. Where do you want TLEX to be in the next 5 years? Where can it go?
Yeah. So from my side, I would love to see us working to continue working with global leaders around the world. And I think that's really a key piece, is that leaders see the benefit in these sorts of things. It's easy to come up with system strategies and goals, but it's incredibly difficult to come up with resilient, high-performing teams that can take on massive challenges. And so to continue that work, but at a very global level, I think.
Gotcha. And for listeners out there that want to engage with TLEX or learn more about it, they can go to www.tlexprogram.com. T and then LEX program.com. Any final thoughts, Johann, before we say goodbye today?
No, I think I just want to thank both of you for the wonderful work you're doing. And promoting interesting ideas in people. And so very appreciative of your work. And it was great to be with both of you.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you, Johann Berlin, for sharing the TLEX program story with our listeners today. You are truly making the world a better place and truly living proof that green is good.